Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for staying with us here on Horizon TV. This is the Muslim Insight, the show that brings you your weekly news recap, and I am your host, Nadia Osman. Before we get into the topics of today, first we want to give you the headlines.
Kabla mimi kusilimu nilikuwa Mkristo pastor. Nilikuwa nasimamia kanisa karibu 24.
Mali yetu yote kama pastoral isiisha, watoto wetu tuko na wale malnutrition tumepata kwa watoto.
Thank you for that. We begin our first story of today on Kenya's drought situation. Kenya is facing one of its worst droughts in decades, causing widespread death among animals and severe hardships for communities that rely on their herds for food and income. Various mitigation efforts have been deployed to the most affected parts of the country, including the distribution of relief food, water trucking, rehabilitation of boreholes, and livestock offset programs. According to data from the National Drought Management, at least 4.35 million people in 23 counties face starvation and are in need of assistance.
The country is facing its worst drought in decades, with many families going without meals and struggling to access basic needs.
Tumeangalia na tumeona watu wetu wa Direct Aid Kenya na Jamii Mosque Committee ya Nairobi wamekaa wakaona hali si bali na wakaamua wakae wajaribu njia yote kusaidia ndugu zetu wanaumia na hii hali ya kiangazi. Sasa leo tumekuja na manyumba yale ambayo tumelenga ni nyumba 230. Kila nyumba itakuwa napata mchele kilo 10, ungangano 6, jogoo 6, maharagwe kilo 5, sukari kilo 5 na chumvi kilo 1, majani na sukari.
Children are particularly vulnerable, with reports of malnutrition and dehydration affecting their health.
Waislamu wametupatia chakula na tunashukuru sana, kwa sababu wakati ni wakati wa jilali, watu wetu mali yetu yote kama pastoral isiisha, watoto wetu tuko na wale malnutrition tumepata kwa watoto. Wazee ndio hao wameadhirika sana. Tunashukuru na kusema ni asante kwa maana wametukumbuka.
Najua watoto wengi sasa na mama wajawazito na wale wananyonyesha ndio haswa wameumia zaidi katika family. Na kwa hivyo sasa sisi tungetaka kulenga hawa zaidi, kwa sababu hawa ndio mara nyingi wanakuwa wanaadhirika.
The government has put in place several measures to tackle the drought situation. Last week, the government set aside 2 billion Kenya shillings to help mitigate the ongoing drought.
Hawa walikuwa zamani wakiishi wakitegemea mfugo, ngamia, ngombe na mbuzi sana. Lakini kwa saizi hali yao mbuzi imekufa na hata ngamia iko hali ya kukufa na hali yao saizi si hali mzuri.
Other stakeholders have joined the government to address the situation. but the scale of the crisis requires collective efforts from all sectors of society.
Ningependa kuambia wafadhili wengine wajaribu wakuje watusaidie kwa sababu bado idadi ya watu ambao wanataka msaada hapa ni kubwa, na hata hawa ambao wameleta msaada hawangeweza kufikisha watu wote. So tungependa wafadhili wote wafike hapa Laisamis wajaribu wasaidie community hii ya Laisamis.
Last week, Jamia Mosque, Nairobi, distributed relief foods to residents of Marsabit County to cushion them from the biting effects of the drought that has left many people in dire need. In the program funded by KCB Sahel Bank, a total of 1,000 families in Laisamis, Saku and North Horr constituencies were the beneficiaries of the relief food distribution exercise carried out by Direct Aid Kenya.
Tumepata chakula mingi sana hapa, na hii ninashukuru Direct Aid pamoja na Jamia Mosque Committee Nairobi. Nasema asanteni, umetuokoa na uendelee kutuokoa.
Hao wenzetu Waislamu ambao wameleta msaada huu tunawashukuru sana, na waendelee pia kwa sababu hadi ya kiangazi bado iko. Ningependa isiwe siku ya leo peke yake, bali waendelee watusaidie sababu hatujui mvua tutapata lini.
The donation from KCB Sahel Bank clearly demonstrates corporate responsibility and shows the important role that the private sector can play in supporting relief efforts.
And still on the same story, the National Drought Response Steering Committee has raised 650 million Kenya shillings to help mitigate the ongoing drought in the country that has so far affected over 4.3 million Kenyans. The committee has set a target of 1 billion Kenya shillings that will be used for humanitarian assistance and the long-term plans for drought management in the country. Speaking during a press briefing in Nairobi, the National Steering Committee on Drought Response Chairperson Peter Ndegwa said the drought situation continues to worsen in 21 of the 23 arid and semi-arid counties in Kenya. The committee announced a partnership with the Kenya Defence Forces that will help in technical areas, including the rehabilitation of boreholes in the affected areas.
So far, we know that there's about 4.3 million who are still food insecure in the country. Almost 940,000 children are suffering from acute malnutrition, whilst about 130,000 lactating mothers are facing malnutrition. And we are aware that 2.5 million livestock have died during the ongoing drought. So about 65% of agricultural produce has failed in most of the ASAL counties, with most open water sources drying up. As a National Steering Committee on Drought Response, we've so far raised just over 650 million. We also have a plan to ensure that we hit 1 billion Kenya shillings before the end of February, and this will be used for various initiatives, including distribution of food, money transfer. So therefore, I'm happy to announce that we'll be supporting, that we'll be partnering with the Kenya Defence Forces on a number of areas of a technical nature in terms of supporting our work. And the start of that will be supporting us to rehabilitate and repair boreholes that are out of repair at the moment. We are targeting 192 boreholes to begin with across the 30 counties that will benefit 1.7 million Kenyans. Everyone can contribute. Every shilling count, every 10 shillings count, every 100 shillings count, because it adds up to feeding families.
Thank you for that. Now moving on, Kenya is facing a growing concern as the number of HIV infections among teenagers continues to rise. Data shows that the youth, particularly those between the ages of 15 to 29, are increasingly becoming vulnerable to the virus. With the disturbing trend, the government has roped in local administrators, members of parliament and other interest groups in fighting triple threats facing adolescents and teenagers. Speaking when he received the joint United Nations Programme on HIV and AIDS Executive Director Winnie Byanyima at the Harambee House Annex on Monday, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua said new HIV infections among teenagers, adolescents and young adults are a threat to the nation's future.
HIV/AIDS challenge in Kenya is coming back. Though the numbers have reduced drastically, we have a new challenge of our young people, the young population, the adolescent age, the teenagers, and it's quite worrisome because that is the generation that we rely on for developing this country, and that is a group that is mostly affected. And especially so during the COVID period. I think this of our young people staying at home and interactions among young people and being quite a bit irresponsible and probably lack of proper knowledge and education in matters HIV and AIDS has led to serious rise in number of infections as well as teenage pregnancies.
Thank you for that. Muslims in Kenya came together in solidarity to offer special prayers for the victims of the recent earthquakes in Turkey and Syria that have left over 21,000 people dead. The Muslims gathered at Masjid Nur South Sea in Nairobi to hold a special prayer asking for peace and comfort for the families of the victims and for the swift recovery of those who were injured in the Monday earthquake. The prayers are a testament to the unity and compassion that exists within the community, the Muslim community. The Turkey ambassador to Kenya called on all Muslims to remember the two countries in their prayers.
I do remember 1999 earthquake as well, very well. But this time the scale and the magnitude of the earthquake is much more bigger than that one. And it is a very large area, almost at the same size with Switzerland, all this area, this earthquake took place. So a very huge number of population there. And today, this evening, this is a very meaningful event, gathering. I thank you very much once again. And we really had our prayers for the spirit of losses, and we wish very quick recovery to all people. Their number is very high as well for the injured ones and for the beloved ones as well. Thank you very much.
There are more than 7,000 buildings has collapsed and thousands of people, they have died under that collapsed buildings. So still they are waiting help and aids and our prayers. When we look at the Europe countries, their names are all united. If you look at America, it is United States of America, right? They are united. Do you see? If we look at Britain, it is United Kingdom. What about Europe? European Union. They are all united, union or united again, right? What about Muslims? What about Islamic worlds? You know, we don't have to come together. We don't have to remember each other. The time of calamity, just at the time of calamity. We have to remember each other, right? Every time, and even at the time of blessing and calamity. So please, inshallah, whenever you rise up your hands, when you pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, please don't forget your brothers in Turkey and pray for them, inshallah.
Jamia Mosque Nairobi has launched a fund drive to aid the victims of the recent earthquake in Turkey. The mosque, known for its community outreach programs, has stepped up to provide support for those affected by the devastating earthquake that hit southern Turkey and northern Syria on Monday. The drive aims to collect donations from the local Muslim community to help provide relief and support to those in need in Turkey. With the community coming together, the mosque hopes to make a positive impact on those affected by the earthquake. The earthquake has left at least over 21,000 dead and over 55 others injured in Turkey and Syria.
We as Muslims in Kenya have very strong and long-standing ties with Turkey and Syria, and we are going to do whatever it takes to help out and see that we ease the situation in that part of the world at the moment. There is real urgent for funds, for medical supplies, and all those things appertaining to an emergency situation. So many countries have come together to assist Turkey because Turkey itself always is the first one to respond whenever there are problems. So in terms of solidarity, this is an important campaign so that we try and assist as much as possible our brothers and sisters who have, I think historically, the worst earthquake in their history. We are confident that our campaign will bring together not just us in Kenya, but the entire global Muslim community towards assisting those who are victims of the earthquake in Turkey. And we have been in consultation with the Turkish embassy here in Nairobi and other stakeholders to ensure that we have a smooth campaign. So we urge all of you, inshallah, to donate whatever you can so that we can help our brothers and sisters in Turkey. The issue really is solidarity and brotherhood of the community, of the global Muslim community.
Thank you for that. And still on the same, a delegation of Jamia Mosque Nairobi visited the Turkish embassy in Nairobi yesterday to offer their condolences and support to the victims of the recent earthquake that has claimed over 21,000 lives. The delegation, led by Jamia Mosque Chief Executive Officer, was received by the Turkish ambassador to Kenya. During their visit, the delegation expressed their solidarity with the people of Turkey affected by the earthquake and disaster and pledged to provide assistance. The embassy officials appreciated the delegation's support and thanked them for their efforts to help the affected victims. This visit underscores the strong bond between the Jamia Mosque Nairobi and the Turkish government and the commitment of both communities to help those in need in times of crisis.
On behalf of Jamia Mosque Committee and the Majlis of Jamia and the staff of Jamia, we express our sincere condolences. We are with you in prayers, in sabr, and we wish for the President and the people of Turkey all the fortitude to take them through this difficult period.
We are grateful for your solidarity, and we highly appreciate your presence today as a whole family of your society here. Thank you very much.
Firstly, to your coming, thank you very much. You're supporting. You know, right now we have very difficult time in Turkey, your brothers and sisters, and for any supporting, we appreciate.
Thank you for that. Now moving on to matters concerning education. Principal Secretary in charge of Technical and Vocational Education, Dr. Esther Moria, has called for students graduating from universities and colleges, especially those pursuing technical courses, to be examined on the demonstrated skills they learn instead of just sitting for examinations and approved for graduation. The PS said it is a tough choice they have to make, adding it will ensure that students coming out from such institutions are well versed on what is expected of them when they join the job market.
Principal Secretary in charge of Technical and Vocational Education, Dr. Esther Moria, said students will now have to come out of the universities and training institutions as skilled people with proven capabilities to execute their jobs.
I want to do away with the big glamorous graduations that we have been having, because the question is, who are we churning out? We have to rethink, and you principals are my tools for thinking through this and for achieving this. We want to talk skills. We want to talk skilling. You students, until and unless you are skilled, you are not going to graduate.
The country is working hard to ensure they produce students who showcase that they are nationally and internationally certified skilled graduates who can work both locally and internationally.
I am under pressure, Governor, to be able to showcase the nationally certified and internationally certified skilled graduates who can work both locally and internationally. And there, I can tell you the number of people who have challenged me to give them these people to be able to get them even international jobs if they are willing. They want them. They're asking me for them.
The PS spoke at Nyandarua National Polytechnic during the official closure of 3-day inaugural international research conference that brought together managers of TVET institutions, researchers, innovators, and industry players from across the country.
As you may recall, all countries experience immense challenges, including climate change, environmental degradation, and COVID-19 in the recent past. These unfortunate occurrences require innovative interventions to resuscitate socio-economic growth. Therefore, adoption of research findings, innovative strategies remains the solution in overcoming these difficult circumstances. I am confident with the government determination to support the TVET subsector, and in collaboration with industry players, no obstacle is too much to conquer.
The sentiments were echoed by Nyandarua Deputy Governor Madhara Mwangi, who said there was a need for the government to expand TVET institutions to increase training opportunities for the youth and increase skilled human capital.
I have had a chance to interact with people from Korea. And surprisingly, that time, mobile phone was not very popular in Africa. And more importantly, our country, Kenya. I was amazed for the gentleman to be telling me he was training Taekwondo at National Youth Service in Nairobi. He was telling me these mobile phones, they are made by technical students, young men and women. You know, young men and women, they are the ones who are producing those things. And therefore, I do not see why it would be stopped for us here in this institution to have those sort of innovations.
Kasim Mustafa for Muslim Insight.
Thank you for that. Now moving on to sad news that has definitely rocked the world this week. At least over 21,000 people were killed and over 55,000 others injured after two strong earthquakes on Monday jolted southern Turkey along the border with Syria. The magnitude 7.8 and 7.6 earthquakes struck 10 provinces and affected more than 13 million people. According to the Disaster and Emergency Management Presidency, more than 79,100 search and rescue teams are currently conducting operations in the field in the affected areas. Thank you for that. Our prayers and thoughts with those affected. Now moving on, a former pastor who once resided over 24 churches but later converted to Islam is the imam of the only mosque in Mulot town in Bomet County. The 53-year-old Abdullah Maritim, formerly Wesley Maritim, converted to Islam back in 2007. The change of faith has sparked mixed reactions in the tightly knit religious community, as the mosque serves as a symbol of the growing Islamic presence in the area. Our reporter Hassan Mohammed has more on the story.
On a live interview with Horizon TV, ex-pastor Abdullah Maritim narrates how he converted from Christianity to Islam.
Sheikh Abdullah Maritim, kabla ya Maritim yeye alikuwa nani? Kabla Abdullah alikuwa Wesley Maritim. Kama mimi nilikuwa ni mbatizo wa kanisa la Seventh Day Church of God. Kabla mimi kusilimu nilikuwa Mkristo pastor. Nilikuwa nasimamia kanisa karibu 24 wakati huo kwa hii sehemu yetu ya Bomet East.
Upon conversion, Abdullah had a wooden mosque from where his faith in Islam was nurtured. His resolve remained strong, and today he has finally built a modern mosque. According to him, he has managed to convert more than 100 members into his faith, unlike in the past when it was only him.
So mimi nilikuwa peke yangu, hata familia yangu, kila mtu alioniogopa, akasema hii jamaa amekeuka, amekuwa mshetani sijui nini. Hata watoto wangu walinikataa wakati huo.
In his quest to win more converts, Abdullah says he has experienced a few challenges within his community.
Naanza hii machengo. Tukisalima sasa, hii msikiti imechengwa. Wakati huo ilikuwa ni sita sana, watu wanakuja nasimamisha. Wakristo wanasema hawezi kuchenga hapa ni Christianity zone. Sehemu hii hawezi kuweka msikiti, sisi nakataa.
He says women are more willing to convert than men, but fear the threat of being divorced by their spouses who threaten them. Apart from the mosque in this area, supplementary Islamic education madrasa has hugely contributed in educating more than 35 students.
Hawa ni wale ambao wako chini, wale ambao wako grade 4 kuendelea mbele wameenda shule. Sasa hao ni wachache, idadi ya wanafunzi 35.
Despite the rejection from the few individuals in the community, this mosque has immensely contributed to the community by providing some basic needs like water.
Kwanza tumeshukuru sana kwa shule. Shule imesaidia jamii kwa sababu tuko na shule na tumekaribisha wanafunzi wote kutoka jamii yetu.
Despite the challenges they have here, they said they will still retain here to spread Islam. Reporting for Horizon TV, I'm Hassan Mohammed.
Thank you so much for that, Hassan Mohammed. I guess that brings us to the end of our first show. But don't go anywhere, and once again, thank you so much for staying with us here on Horizon TV. Once again, feel free to reach us on any of our telephone lines, text us on our WhatsApp number, and feel free to interact with us on our social media handles. Let us know where you're watching us from. And thank you so much. We'll be back, but then don't go anywhere. We'll be back with the review of today's Friday Bulletin. I am Nadia Osman.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation. Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Tazama ukumbi wa fiqhi kwenye Horizon TV. Halal, haram, sunna, wajib, makruh, mubah. Ili upate kujua ahkam za ibada kwenye Horizon TV.
Verse of the day.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
ويوم نسير الجبال وترى الأرض بارزة وحشرناهم فلم نغادر منهم أحدا وعرضوا على ربك صفا لقد جئتمونا كما خلقناكم أول مرة بل زعمتم أن لن نجعل لكم موعدا.
Uislamu ni dini yenye mpangilio ulio kamili na taratibu zake humpa fursa kila mja kuifahamu na kuelewa.
Muislamu yoyote lazima achukue jukumu la kuifahamu dini yake, kuanzia kwenye shahada, ashhadu, nakiri kwa moyo,
kisha usafi wa kimwili.
Hapo ndipo huanza safari ya kumwabudu Mola wake.
Usikose kujiunga nasi kila siku ya Jumamosi live kwenye kipindi Ufahamu Uislamu ili ujifunze mengi usiyojua kutoka Horizon TV.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Horizon TV. Once again, this is the Muslim Insight, the show that brings you your weekly news recap as well as the review of today's Friday Bulletin. I'm not alone. I'm joined by Mr. Musa Mwale. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you this morning?
Alhamdulillah.
And we started, it's very nice to actually have you in studio. We get more in depth with the Friday Bulletin for those who usually are not able to get their copies. For those who are able to get their copies, they're able to know what exactly is on today's Friday Bulletin. And the first story, and this is on the front page, is Jamia launch fund drive for Turkey earthquake Muslims.
Yeah, thank you so much, and welcome viewers once again. This past week has been a very, very sad moment,
yes,
especially for the Muslim community.
Yes.
Turkey, where we know that there was an earthquake that the death toll is now at maybe 21,000
yes,
people, with Turkey having maybe up to slightly maybe about 18,000
yes,
lives lost.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, by the time the efforts to save those surviving stop,
mm-hmm,
we don't know how many other lives we would have lost. And apart from that, of course, destruction of property,
yes,
loss of livelihood, and those ones who are injured, those ones who are displaced is about 300,000 people
yes,
currently in the camp.
mm-hmm,
So it's quite sad, and for Jamia and any other Muslim to take the initiative of mobilizing resources to support Turkey.
yes,
It's very good, very telling. because Turkey has been a friend of the Muslim community in this country.
They have been.
I'm sure now with Ramadan coming, quite a number of institutions and people would be affected,
yes,
because Turkish organizations have been contributing quite a lot towards the iftar program,
yes, towards
udhiya. So that is going to reduce definitely, because now they have a worse calamity, or they are in a more needy situation than we are.
Yes.
So it's just good to extend a hand of support.
They've been very quick to assist us.
Yes, yes.
And in one of the clips that was playing on the news segment, I think it was the Turkish ambassador who was speaking, and he was saying, as Muslims, we need to be united, not just in times of calamity, but also in times of good things and happiness. And alhamdulillah, even over the years, Turkey has been a very, very close brother to us Muslims in Kenya and all over the world. They are always quick to assist. And now there is a donation or a drive, charity drive, that has been started by Jamia Mosque, where Kenyans who feel they want to help their brothers in Turkey, they're able now to donate. And I think there have been posters that have been shared on social media, and whoever wants to donate is able to do that.
Yeah, sure. I think it's just time to not just help, but also maybe try to pay back.
Yes.
You know, because they have supported us, they continue supporting us and supporting other Muslims all over the world.
Yes.
And they have stood out for Islam.
Yes.
Specifically when the moment has called for.
Yes.
So it's just fair that we also stand up for them.
Yes.
And of course we encourage all those who are able to, however little,
yes,
to contribute. You don't know how much that will go a long way in helping or alleviating the suffering of those affected.
As well as remembering them in our prayers. Any moment we make dua for them
sure,
as well.
Sure.
Now we're moving on to the second page of today's Friday Bulletin. Is the issuance of ID cards, passports to take only 21 days. And this were comments made by the Cabinet Secretary of Interior, Kindiki.
These are pronouncements that have been made by successive regimes.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the issue or the challenge that the Muslim community face and other communities from the border towns or border regions face has never changed. So it's not enough to just make a pronouncement.
Yes.
It's enough to just, it's good to make a pronouncement, but follow it up with the officers in charge of issuance. Because when they say it will only take 21 days, and I mean, that's after vetting, and it takes maybe a year or 2 years to get to the vetting process. Of course, here he's mentioned that it should take 14 days to do that.
Yes.
But the attitude of the civil servants in the registration offices, I think maybe there should be a total overhaul of that department, so that you have completely new people doing that work. Because it takes 2 to 3, 4, 5 years. There are people who are 24, they've never gotten their IDs up to date.
It's very sad.
It's quite sad. There are people who are not even sure whether they are citizens of this country or not. And not only even to those people at the border areas like the Western Kenya, the coastal region, the Northern Kenya, but also those people who have been, whose great-great-grandfathers have been here for years.
Yes.
And then just because their great-grandfather held either British citizenship or whatever citizenship, then it becomes very difficult for them to get documents. So I think it's good for the minister to make this pronouncement, but it has to be followed up by the implementers themselves, the registration officers, to actually put this into action.
It's very, very good. It's a very good move, and we obviously applaud him for that. But as they say, actions speak louder than words.
Yes, yes.
Moving on to the next story. On the same page, on the second page, Jamia feted for its valuable contributions. And this was at the University of Nairobi. The Muslim Students Association, themselves, last week recognized Jamia Mosque on how they have helped the Muslim community. And one of the things that I would love to definitely talk to you or discuss with you is this has clearly shown that not Jamia Mosque itself, but imams and Muslim leaders are interacting with the youth particularly. And this was a very, very good good initiative, and it shows that Jamia Mosque interacts with the University of Nairobi, which is a strong move for anyone who's watching this, for any Muslim in any position of leadership. What would you say on this?
Well, I have said this before, and I continue saying it without fear of contradiction, that Jamia Mosque has really taken the leadership within the Muslim community.
Yes.
And it has given a lot of support and space for institutions and for the community to grow. It has offered its facilities where it's supposed to generate money. It has offered those facilities for free to the community to access, for meetings, for functions.
Yes.
It has, of course, like what we've seen with the Turkey and past initiatives of raising support, mobilizing support and raising funds for communities. It has provided a platform for Muslims to come and air their views on national issues and international issues.
Yes.
So, of course, this comes at a very good time from SOUN, a student initiative, to really appreciate, and many other, I'm sure, many other institutions would do the same. It says that the students have taken that leadership as young people to appreciate that Jamia Mosque has really offered a contribution to the community.
Yes.
And we want to encourage the management and the leadership of Jamia Mosque to continue with that, inshallah.
And just to finish that off, Jamia Mosque Deputy Imam Sheikh Jamaluddin Osman, who was the chief guest, he advised those in leadership positions when he was attending the event, and he said, always seek the guidance of the Prophet ﷺ. He said, be honest and be trustworthy, and you'll never go astray. And I think that is something you stand for as well. Honesty and trustworthiness in any position of leadership that you hold.
Yeah, sure. That is the best. And I also want to laud the Deputy Imam for keeping the mosque active by starting the darsas, especially the weekly darsas that are there on the life of the Prophet, and many other, of course, darsas that have been taking place.
Yes.
You have to make a decision live by providing a platform for interaction, continuous interaction, for people to learn. If you've been here for quite a number of years, you should come out with some form of knowledge that you have gained by you patronizing the facility, other than just coming to pray and go.
Yes, thank you so much for that. Now moving on to Hassan Olenado appointed to NACADA board. And this is the Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims National Chairman Hassan Olenado. He's landed a job at NACADA. And for those who are not aware of what NACADA is the National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse, which is very nice to have a Muslim on the board. And what would you say about that?
Well, first to congratulate our brother Al-Hajj Hassan Olenado on his appointment.
Yes.
And to encourage that he actually actively participates at the level of policy and regulatory mechanism on some of these things, because the least we could do is to put in place regulatory measures that will control. I would want to actually ask Brother Hassan to be very stern on Moguka and Mira that is destroying our families, our youth, especially in Muslim majority areas. If we can have strong directive on that, of course we know politically and economically is going to affect other people, but we have a right as a community also to protect ourselves from destroying our own health. And Muguka and these other things are quite disastrous to the community.
Just quickly, because I'm being informed that we have, the time is not on our side. The Muslim Association too is hosting in Kisumu, is hosting a free medical camp tomorrow. It's going to be held at Al-Mu'min Integrated Academy grounds, which is adjacent to the Kisumu Jamia Mosque. So for those who are in Kisumu and are able to go there tomorrow, there are a lot of services being offered tomorrow, inshallah, for free. Before we move on to the topic of discussion, because I want us to finish off with the Valentine's Day trap for new Muslims, because I know we're in the month of what they call the month of not Muslims, but what they know it for. Because we're going to take a look at page 6, where we have Zakah Kenya 2023 Iftar Walk for February 26th. This is one, as we're nearing the month of Ramadan, there is need to give back to the community once again, and to be able to assist those who are not able to get, iftar for their families. And also with the ongoing drought, it has become a very, very tough time for Muslims especially. So Zakah Kenya plans to raise funds to help feed needy and less fortunate families during this month of Ramadan, coming month of Ramadan, inshallah. And Mr. Musa, I want us to look at page 7, and I want you to touch on the implement directives on hijab Muslim women are urging. What would you say about this?
The hijab question has been with us as long as we've been alive in this country.
Yes.
And it's not just about hijab. Of course, hijab is symbolic.
Yes.
And when they talk of hijab, it's beyond hijab. It's the whole question of the freedom to partake in your own values and I mean especially religious values and practices. So quite a number of schools have very punitive rules.
Yes.
When you are applying to go into to be admitted into that school, or when you are admitted in the school, you sign a certain form that has rules.
Yes.
And the rules talk about the school uniform. And quite a number of times, because of desperation for our children to join the schools, or for us to have our kids admitted into schools, we sign those forms without really reading through. And when a child is denied to partake into their religious practices, and you put a case across.
Yes.
Then they tell you, you actually signed this form. No one forced you to sign the form.
True.
So I would ask parents that as you take your kids to school, be very keen on which school you are taking your kids to.
Yes.
Be very keen on the rules that you are signing that come with admission forms, so that in the future we don't have problems, because we've gone to court and we've also lost cases on such a technicalities that the parent signed this form that the child will put on a certain form of uniform.
Yes.
And now they want to change that by putting hijab, having hijab, the headscarf, maybe the trouser and all that, or they don't want to go to church.
Yes.
And some of these are public institutions that unfortunately happen to have received some religious or church support.
Yes.
And we should actually be very, very clear. If they're public institutions, they're public institutions.
Yes.
Whether you are sponsoring them as an individual or as an institution, you have no right to institute certain laws and rules on a public institution.
Yes.
If people want to run their own private institutions and institute certain laws, well and good, they could go and open their own institutions, but not come and paint the gate of a school and then put a tag there, this is sponsored by so and so, and therefore the rules of this school change to apply to what I need or what I wish, just because I have painted the gate or the wall, or I've put one teacher.
Yes.
So I think government should also be very keen on that, that as long as it's public, it has to abide by the rules of the public, and that is the rules in education, the regulations in education, and the Kenyan Constitution.
Thank you so much for that. Now we're coming to the end of our second segment, and we're going to finish off. I want us to talk about Valentine's Day. And what does it mean for Muslims? Because we know as Muslims, it is not a day of celebration. It is not of any importance to us. But unfortunately, with the current society, they have been caught up in such affairs. I'd rather say it like that.
Personally, I wouldn't want to give it any prominence.
Yeah.
But now that it's here, I think it's just fair to remind ourselves, because I know the sheikhs, especially Sheikh Juma Amir, has talked about this. Quite a number of sheikhs and alims have talked about the Valentine Day.
Yes.
Before we partake in anything, we have to try to understand the historical perspective of it, the significance of it, to those who actually started it, and ask ourselves, is it beneficial? It's not beneficial in any way to us.
Yes.
And even to other people, not just Muslims. It's not beneficial at all. It's not like those other international holidays, like, of course, the New Year's and all that.
Yes.
You know, so for me, it's just for people to try to understand that and really not partake into it, because some of these things have some spiritual connotation or religious connotation, and they take us towards shirk.
Exactly.
So I think as Muslims, as young people, you know, we should not partake in such events.
Thank you so much for reminding us. Once again, I think that brings us to the end of today's discussion. I know we've not touched on some of the stories inside the Friday Bulletin, but you can get your copy today from anywhere. You can come to Jamia, you can get your your copy from any local mosque. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Horizon TV. Once again, Mr. Musa, thank you so much for always being here with us, for taking us through the Friday Bulletin and giving us your insight. I'm Nadia Osman, and once again, don't feel shy. Try to connect with us on our... Once again, this is a show that focuses on news or matters and stories that affect the Muslim community. So you can give us a call, text us on our WhatsApp numbers, and connect with us on our social media platforms. And we follow the story, inshallah. Thank you so much once again. And that brings us to the end. So until next week, ma'as-salam.
Horizon TV, the beacon